and the will of God works out in whatever context and situation that you're in. But if he's talking here about molding and remolding clay, then the clay has to be soft in order to be moldable.
But despite what goes on around us, desperation or delight, the Bible instructs us to fight the good fight and keep our eyes on the author and finisher of our faith.
Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your living truth.
This is Living Truth. We've selected a number of sought-after messages, and we're rerunning them in our special Encore presentation series from the Living Truth archives. Looking back reminds us that politics, economics, and popular culture of the day are an ongoing, integral part of society's complex fabric. And clear biblical teaching is always applicable, whether it's a message from several years ago or of the moment. But despite what goes on around us, desperation or delight, the Bible instructs us to fight the good fight and keep our eyes on the author and finisher of our faith. This is Living Truth.
I knew a man extremely well who believed that when he was a young man, as a student at an agricultural college, he had disobeyed God in such a way that he believed he had destroyed what had been God's purpose for his life. I don't know the details of what had actually happened, but I do know he lived with a sense of being second best and living not the plan that God had for him, but an inferior plan. He continued to love God. He continued to read his Bible every day. He prayed every day. I don't know anyone who is more diligent in his daily devotions with God, both morning and evening, as he was. I knew him well because he was my father. I don't know whether there's anybody here this morning who feels that, maybe not in the same measure or the same set of circumstances. But maybe there are things you look back on in your life that you feel have disqualified you from being what God wants you to be. Of course, it's true we can disobey God. We can move out of his will. That is true. But the question I want to ask and address this morning is, what happens to the will of God when you have stepped out of what you sensed was his will and purpose for you? And the answer to that is what we'll talk about this morning from this story in Jeremiah chapter 18, where God sent Jeremiah down to visit the house of a potter. And he watches the potter at work, and in the course of his work, the clay becomes marred. It doesn't tell us why it becomes marred, because that is irrelevant to the point. The point is it becomes marred. And what the potter does is he remolds the marred clay into something else. And I love the qualification attached to it, as seemed best to him. This is the best thing I can do. It's not the original purpose, and it's not the second best. The focal point I want to look at with you is the work of the potter with his marred clay. But in chapter 17, the previous chapter in verse 12, there's this statement that says, "A glorious throne exalted from the beginning is the place of our sanctuary." A sanctuary is a place where you go for refuge, a place you can go to hide, a place you can go to be protected. And he says, this is what we have, a glorious throne. That is the sovereignty of God on his throne. That is the place where we go to for refuge, he says. That is the place of our sanctuary. That is where we find our security. And what is that glorious throne? What is the sovereignty of God? Is it a fixed, rigid pattern that if you break out of it, you're out of it forever, like a map on a wall which you can't change? Well, in chapter 18, he explains it to us. That the sovereignty of God, the place of our refuge, is that God in his sovereignty as the potter with the clay has all through history, and I'll show you this in a few moments, and he does in your life and mine, he remolds according to whatever the clay is that's in his hand. See, Jeremiah's watching the potter at work here. The focus is on the potter. And because it becomes marred, something goes wrong with it. He forms it into another pot, shaping it as seemed best to him. And he gives an explanation in verse 6, where he says, O house of Israel, can I not do with you as this potter does? Like clay in the hands of the potter, so are you in my hands. And if that clay has become marred, then the potter remolds it into something that seems best. You see, I have no doubt that this building this morning is full of marred clay. I myself am marred clay. There are things in our lives, things in our history we cannot undo. At times we've rebelled against God. We're all by nature sinful. We start off on the wrong foot. We start off with a bent towards rebellion and going our own way and doing our own thing. We start off marred. And the picture here, what is the will of God in that situation? Is it, well, you can descend into some kind of second-class living? Yes, it'll be okay, but it's only second class. No, the picture is here that if the clay is yielded, and we'll talk about the clay needing to be soft and pliable, when the clay is yielded, he forms it into another pot, shaping it as seemed best to him. Not shaping it second best, but as seemed best to him. I don't know what lies in your past, but there are folks here who carry in your life secrets. Maybe they're secrets, or you carry a history that has been damaging to you. Maybe you've been through an abortion. Maybe you're the father of the fetus or the mother. You can't go back and undo that. Maybe you've been through a divorce and it was painful to you and painful to your spouse and painful to your children if there were children involved. And going back seems out of the question. It may not be, but maybe it seems it is. Maybe it's things have been done to you. Maybe you're molested as a child, and out of that has grown a confused sexuality and all the repercussions of that. Or you were damaged in earlier years, and there's a legacy from that damage, and it's impacted your ability to trust. The clay can be damaged in many ways. It says the clay is damaged in the potter's hand, not damaged by the potter, though it was in his hand. Many of the damages are self-inflicted. But here's the message of this story, and it's a message of hope. That the potter does not take it off the wheel and discard it. He reworks it, forming it into another pot. Yes, different, because this history is now part of this new pot, as seemed best to him. You see, nobody and no experience is irredeemable in our lives. I didn't say everything is fixable, because it's not. You know, sometimes people talk about God having a primary will and a secondary will, or an absolute will and a permissive will. All these are attempts to deal with the fact that when we're out of the will of God, we're not abandoned, and that is fine. Whether those terms are good and helpful, I'm not sure, but I do know there are many of us here this morning, and if God has a primary will and a secondary will, we're definitely in the secondary will, if not the third, fourth, fifth. We would feel that. But no, it's not a question of first and second. It's a question of dealing with the realities of the situation. And you may have gone in the wrong direction. And the will of God works out in whatever context and situation that you're in. But if he's talking here about molding and remolding clay, then the clay has to be soft in order to be moldable, to be pliable, to be submissive. You see, this is not a case of, well, live any old how, and God is constantly correcting you and making it work out okay anyway, even though you mess up. No, don't understand that from this. That is not the message that Jeremiah is giving here. But that when somebody comes with that spirit of humility and surrender and submissive, pliable heart, then God molds into something that seems best to him. What happens if you stay hard and you don't become soft and submissive and you don't confess? Because that's all involved in that, is confession of our sin and humble receiving of forgiveness where we've gone wrong. What happens if you stay hard? Well, look at chapter 19 of Jeremiah, the next chapter. It gives us a warning about hard clay, because verse 1, this is what the Lord says: go and buy a clay jar from a potter. Take along some of the elders of the people and of the priests, and go out to the valley of Ben Hinnom, near the entrance of the potsherd gate, and there proclaim the words I tell you. I'm not going to read the words, I'll summarize them in just a moment. But he says, go to the house of a potter, maybe the same potter. This time, don't go to the potter himself who's at work at the wheel. That's the focus of chapter 18. Now go to a pot that is in its hardened final state. And take this pot and go and stand in front of the people and declare this word. And basically the message is, and you can read it in the following verses, that you have forsaken me, says God. You've replaced me with foreign gods. You've built altars to Baal. Your hearts have become hard against me. And therefore, as a result, it is not now remolding the clay that is the option. It is breaking the clay. It is the judgment of God. And so in verse 10, then he says, break the jar while those who go with you are watching. And say to them, this is what the Lord Almighty says: I will smash this nation and this city, just as this potter's jar is smashed and cannot be repaired. And in verse 14, Jeremiah then returned from Tropheth, where the Lord had sent him to prophesy, and stood in the court of the Lord's temple and said to all the people, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says: listen, I'm going to bring on this city and the villages around it every disaster I pronounced against them, because they were stiff-necked and they would not listen to my words. In other words, they've got beyond the stage of being soft. They've become hardened. You know, I was meeting with somebody yesterday who is not a believer. Though when he was young, he used to go to a Sunday school in a gospel hall out near Mississauga. But he's not been in church for many years. And I met him yesterday for breakfast. We had had some contact and we had met before. We met again yesterday. And he asked me an interesting question. He said, why are you Christians afraid to talk about the judgment of God? He said, when I used to go to that Gospel Hall Sunday School, we heard that God was a judge as well as a friend. But you folks never talk about that these days. Why not? It's a good question from an unbeliever, though he's going to be a believer soon. Because I explained to him the cross yesterday and the judgment of God. When I finished explaining the cross, he said, that makes forgiveness totally logical. Because somebody else has borne it. So he's not far away from the kingdom. But it was a good question. You cannot read the biblical record and stick your head in the sand about the fact that God is judge. And that God in his grace and mercy will remold the clay that is soft and pliable. But he will smash the clay jar that is not. That's the picture God gives to Jeremiah to give to the people of Israel. They didn't like it. If you read chapter 20, a man called Pasha, who was the chief officer in the temple in Jerusalem, was indignant about this, and he had Jeremiah beaten up and put into the stocks. We don't talk about a God who's going to smash us as a nation, he said. We are called by God to be his nation. Jeremiah, don't you dare talk like that. But the two pictures that are given in Jeremiah 18:19 about living in the will of God is this, that when things go wrong, when our hearts become softened again before God and we come in humility, acknowledging all the mess and the failure that is part of our lives, and we confess it so we know his forgiveness, and we become pliable again in his hands and responsive again in his hands, he does rework us into another part that seems best. It may not be the original version, but it seems best to him. But the message goes on, if you remain hard and you become resistant and you become rigid, then he has to break the jar. The judgment of God is a very real thing. And the judgment of God is associated with hardness. Remember Pharaoh? How that 14 times in the book of Exodus it tells us that Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Now people pick up the fact it says God hardened Pharaoh's heart and they get all worked up about that. But there are 14 times it says Pharaoh's heart was hardened. 8 of those times say Pharaoh hardened his heart. And 6, which include the last 5 times it's mentioned, it says God hardened his heart. Because you see, Pharaoh had set the disposition towards God of resistance and hardness. So every time God came again to Pharaoh, the impact of God coming on Pharaoh is that his hardened heart was hardened even more. And God had to smash him, in the language of Jeremiah 19. There's a king called Zedekiah. And it says of him in 2 Chronicles 36 that he became stiff-necked and hardened his heart and would not turn to the Lord, the God of Israel. So God had to smash him. He would not turn. He would not become responsive and pliable in the hand of God. Ezekiel, in Ezekiel 3 verse 7, God said to Ezekiel, but the house of Israel is not willing to listen to you because they're not willing to listen to me. For the whole house of Israel is hardened and obstinate. Ezekiel, they won't listen to you because they won't listen to me. And here's the reason. They are hard. They're obstinate. And God had to smash them. And in the New Testament, there are other occasions of that. Nebuchadnezzar, where Daniel writes that his heart became arrogant and hardened with pride, and he was disposed from his royal throne and stripped of his glory. His hardened heart, he was smashed. Mind you, it's still never the last word, because Nebuchadnezzar himself, from his brokenness, began to seek after God. And one of the great testimonies of the Old Testament scriptures is Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, actually turned to the God of Israel. And Daniel chapter 4 is a tract that was distributed throughout the whole Babylonian Empire. And it's found its way into our Bibles, where Nebuchadnezzar says, I want the whole of my kingdom to know how I came to know the God of Israel. But he'd been broken and smashed before that. So it's never the end. There's always the possibility of restoration when the heart itself begins to soften again. And Hebrews chapter 3 warns us as believers in verse 13 to encourage one another as long as it is called today, so that none of you may become hardened by sin's deceitfulness. And the hardened heart becomes resistant to God and resistant to the will of God. And by the way, he's warning believers in Hebrews 13 about that possibility, where you do not find your life being used and purposeful because the hardening of your heart has prevented the molding of the clay. I ask you this morning, how about your life and my life? There's hope here, you see. That no matter what it is that had gone on, no matter what it is you've done, no matter what it is that my father had done and got involved in when he was a student, whatever it was, a softened, pliable, submissive heart can be molded again into something good. The molding can be painful, of course it can be. And I don't know where you are this morning, of course. I don't know what marring of the clay has gone on this week. I don't know what knots have built up in the clay that make it difficult for the potter to make what he was making, but he will work on it and re-mold it. With all the history and all the past and all the experience, good and bad, that your life has consisted of. Because he's forming it into another pot that seems best to him. You see, the will of God is not some fixed, indelibly written plan that you and I have no hope of ever getting into because we've fallen. But the will of God is a living, dynamic molding of your life, molding through your circumstances, molding through the experiences of life into something that is good.
Our spiritual, moral, and ethical makeup remains a concern today, just as it did in generations past. And the simple truth remains: sound biblical lessons apply to us now as they did a decade or 100 years ago. Stay connected to Christ's eternal word and join us next time for more clear biblical teaching here on Living Truth. Our program is recorded at the People's Church in Toronto, Canada. If you live in the GTA or plan on visiting, please join us. Everyone's welcome, and we'd love to meet you.
To watch this message again, visit our website, download transcripts, order DVDs and CDs, as well as our daily devotional, or sign up for our monthly newsletter. Online, you can sign up for podcast. You can also join us on Facebook and YouTube.
Join us next week for more of this Encore series, Living in the Will of God. This is Living Truth.
Like a ring of solid gold, like a vow that is tested, like a covenant of old. Your love is enduring through the winter rain and beyond the horizon. With mercy for today, faithful you have been, faithful you will be. Pledge yourself to me, and it's why I sing your praise. Will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips. Your kindness makes us whole. You shoulder our weakness, and your strength becomes our own. You're making me like you, clothing me in white, bringing beauty from ashes. For you will have your bride. Faithful you have been, faithful you will be. Pledge yourself to me, and it's why I sing your praise. Will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. You will be praised, you will be praised. With angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. You will be praised, you will be praised. With angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. And you will be praised, you will be praised. Angels and saints, we sing worthy are you, Lord. And it's why I sing your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips.